I remember when the Rinnegan used to be special. I remember when the awakening of the Rinnegan was something to brag about. I remember how rare it used to be, to the point that people would fight over it, ripping it out of each other's head just to fit it into their own noggin. I remember when its powers were special and unique, and now it's just sort of overused. It's become a status symbol that every bad guy needs to prove themselves to be a threat. Momoshiki has it, Urashiki has it, every member of the Shinju possess it. But there used to be a time when it was so rare that the moment someone awakened it, they had to be a reincarnation of someone special. And now it just seems to be the calling card of every monster of the week. And what's so sad about it is that they don't even properly use it. They just have it. It really is simply a status symbol. Well, I'm kinda peeved about that and a few other things, so let's talk about it. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you're subscribed, and with that out of the way, let's get into the video. The Rinnegan. The Rinnegan is a powerful dojutsu that was first awakened by Hagoromo Otsutsuki. Its connection to the Rinne Sharingan is strange. I had always wondered how it connected. For a time, I thought that it was a derivative of it, but I honestly don't know. The only thing that sets the two apart is that one possesses access to the infinite Tsukiyomi, and that it's awakened when you either absorb the Ten Tails or eat one of its chakra fruits. But the issue with that is, Kaguya was already pregnant when she ate it, or at least that's what filler seems to show us. Which means that the Rinnegan can be awakened from the chakra fruit the same as the Rinne Sharingan. Where am I going with this? Well, where I'm going with this has to do with the Otsutsuki, because they also possess Rinnegan. Fairly commonly, too. I mean, a defense can be made for that in saying that because the Otsutsuki possess a lifestyle that sees them seek these fruits, they should all have Rinnegan, right? Except they don't. Not every Otsutsuki possesses a Rinnegan. One example of this would be Ishiki Otsutsuki. He didn't possess a Rinnegan, and yet he was stronger than Momoshiki ever thought about being. And his eyeball technique, the Kokugan, isn't even a Rinnegan level dojutsu. It's arguably the same level as a Mangekyo Sharingan, possessing a function very similar to that of the Kamui. And yet, Momoshiki was portrayed as weaker. If he weren't, then Sasuke and Naruto would have bodied Ishiki instead of requiring Baryon mode, which killed off Kurama, left Naruto alive, and was somehow just used to hand it over to Himawari. But before we veer off on the other reasons why Boruto is just subpar as a series, let's return to the subject we were speaking on before, the constant reuse of the Rinnegan. The Rinnegan has been both overused and nerfed at the same time. It now really does just serve as a status symbol. It's almost as if Kishimoto has forgotten what Six Paths Chakra even is. Momoshiki was the first villain after Toneri to appear, technically speaking, and he also possessed Rinnegan in the palms of his hands. Which is a cool idea, I guess, but he never really used them. He just used them to absorb techniques and to eat his cousin. That's about all he did with them. And when he actually did power up further into an arguably awesome form, I'm talking manga and anime, the movie transformation was atrocious, he even seemed to awaken a Rinne Sharingan at the center of his forehead. Both his Rinnegan and his Byakugan turned golden, and I would have assumed that bro could dominate the battlefield. With all the powers displayed by Pain, I should think he would have had the same potency, but instead it sort of just devolved into hand-to-hand combat. That Rinnegan on his forehead didn't even really turn into anything. It was just there to look pretty. But Momoshiki isn't the only one who is guilty of never using their Rinnegan to the fullest extent. Sasuke is just as guilty. He has what has been reputed to be the strongest Rinnegan in the whole series so far. And yet the only thing he ever uses it for is a Menotejikara. Bro could literally revive the dead with that thing. He could use it to take over dead bodies as vessels and form his own Six Paths of Sasuke like Pain and Obito did. But, you know, I'll give him a pass on that, because after all, it doesn't seem to fit his character, defiling the bodies of 6 dead people just for a power boost. But it doesn't give him an excuse to never use any of the powers of those paths. Sasuke could summon massive animals. He could summon the King of Hell. He could literally just kill anyone by touching them with the human path. Rinnegan is broken as can be, and he never once used any ability other than a Menotejikara. And the same goes with the Shinju. Every single one of them have it, and you know what I've seen them do with it? I've seen Jure use it to make a tailed beast ball. Like, bruh. Any tailed beast can do that. They don't even need the Rinnegan to do it either. So why is his special Rinnegan power making tailed beast balls? It would be like awakening a Mangekyo Sharingan ability that can just cast fireball jutsu. The Rinnegan has become a status symbol and is never used to its fullest potential. It's bad enough that it's been proliferated as much as it has, which even I could get behind because I love the dojutsu and might like to see more of it. But the issue with it is that it's almost never utilized. It's to the point that I can't help but wonder if Kishimoto even remembers what it actually does. It's been treated like a glorified Mangekyo Sharingan, no offense to my favorite dojutsu by the way. It's to the point that even users of dojutsu not too dissimilar from the Mangekyo Sharingan display fighting ability above that of the most reputed of all dojutsu. Not because they're simply stronger characters, but because the people who have it never use it. There was a time when the Rinnegan was that one dojutsu people mentioned and you immediately knew that crap was about to hit the fan. I mean, this eyeball alone killed Jiraiya. Now it's paired to Otsutsuki, who are supposed to be stronger than even Kaguya. One of these Otsutsuki actually going back in time and getting his butt handed to him by Kid Naruto and Jiraiya as well. And during that whole fight, Sasuke had his own Rinnegan covered with an eye patch. I'm sure you can understand what I mean. Nerfing. Everyone knows how Naruto and Sasuke were nerfed. This actually rides off the coattails of the previous point, because not only was the Rinnegan nerfed for the villains and heroes both, but the heroes themselves were nerfed. For a while, I never actually could realize why Naruto no longer has truth-seeking orbs. He should theoretically still have them, but I assumed that they went away because maybe Naruto used up all the other energy from the other tailed beasts. To be fair, this didn't start in Boruto, but actually in Naruto the Last, in which Naruto never used them there either. But the nerfing of the main characters was needless, and it was done in an effort to make the next generation seem stronger. You see, the issue that you get in combat-based action manga, especially if the goal is to continue getting stronger, is that eventually a point comes where nobody plateaus. Goku never does it, and Naruto doesn't either. And because of that, as their story continues, they gain so much power that nobody can compete with them anymore. To make the manga interesting, villains who are naturally that strong must be introduced. In the case of Dragon Ball, Toriyama-sensei simply wrote that everyone else just power spiked as well. Why did they power spike? Well, I don't know, they just did. And despite how little sense it made, it was tolerable. It would have been better if they said that these characters were training all along and then had their potential awakened. Potential is a cheat term anyway. All you gotta do is awaken latent potential and boom, instant strength. But this isn't about Dragon Ball. My point in bringing this up though is that Boruto used the opposite solution. In an attempt to make the new generation seem as strong, they needed to lower the difficulty of the villains. But if they did that, it opened a new can of worms and questioning why Sasuke and Naruto don't just curb stomp them. And the answer to that was nerfing. This is why nobody ever used the Rinnegan correctly regardless of their status as hero or villain. Boruto realistically couldn't survive something like that at his level. Maybe he could now, but as of yet, there's still no real usage of the Rinnegan. Their greatest recourse was to nerf Naruto and Sasuke by, all in the same episode mind you, Naruto uses Baryon mode which instantly kills Kurama. Then, right as everything is cooling down, Sasuke turns around and sees Boroshiki stab out his eye with a kunai. Why? Maybe because deep down Momoshiki was scared of its incredible powers. I don't know why he would be though, it's not like Sasuke ever used it. The quick destruction of the Rinnegan was such a cheap shot against Sasuke in an attempt to quickly lower his power so Boruto could shine better. To be honest, nobody even really likes Boruto as a character, so it seems all the more tragic. And that being said, the idea that Sasuke would be able to lose his eye at all with that just sort of makes no sense. Considering how fast the base Sharingan sees things, so fast that it's almost light speed, and the Mangekyo is above that, the Rinnegan with the Tomoe of the Sharingan open should have out-of-this-world reaction time, quick enough to use a Menoteji Kara or Shinra Tensei or Susanoo or literally any other technique to ward off the attack. But Sasuke didn't, he just let his eye get gouged out. And as if that wasn't enough of a nerf, because logically it's not, Naruto at this time with only Sage Mode should body most Boruto villains, And Sasuke with only Kagutsuchi should as well. It's not like Sasuke wasn't already only using Amaterasu. They had to deal with them as well, so Naruto is put into Kawaki's dimension of Daikokuten, and then Sasuke is literally getting bitten and turned into a tree off screen. All of it makes me wonder what the point of Sasuke leaving to help Boruto was, when much of the stuff he learned either was or could have been taught by Koji Kashin alone. Well, the answer to that was that they needed Sasuke out of the way so they could let Boruto shine more. So RIP to the good stuff. Shameless fan service. What's so painful about this isn't that all the good stuff was taken from us. It's that also some of it was given back to us without any good explanation. I'll say it like this. Kurama coming back to life was not something any of us expected, but it could have been explained. So him coming back to life would have been totally fine. But it was how he was brought back. That's the difference. Kurama literally regenerated within Himawari. That was a wacky way of doing it, especially since they could have pulled out a whole new mini-arc about it. Yeah, show Himawari using Kurama's chakra and having the Nine Tails, leave it on a cliffhanger or something, and then in the next chapter have a flashback that shows Kurama regenerating and then being recaptured by Konoha. That would have made more sense, been a better chapter, and would have made it seem less like they're desperate to make us like Himawari. I'll be frank with you. You don't have to make me like Himawari. She's a good character. In fact, I wish she were the main character. But the way this was done makes me wonder if Kishimoto-sensei has lost his touch. No offense to Mr. Kishimoto. Perhaps it's the editors. I don't know. But what I do know is that it's starting to feel like a cash grab. Perhaps it always felt like this, but I just tried to ignore it up until this point. Want to know what straw broke the camel's back in the form of this fan service? Boruto's usage of the flying Raijin Jutsu. Or more like the lack thereof. After the time skip, they did everything in their power just to buff Boruto, and boy did they. He's strong now, yes, it's believable too. He's trained by Koji Kashin, the clone of Jiraiya. That for me is enough fan service. Koji's the new Jiraiya, that's all the fan service we need. Besides that, he's also mostly Otsutsuki now, so his otherworldly potential is covered. But what set me off was how he suddenly had the flying Raijin. I was fine with it. Maybe Sasuke taught him, or Koji used his influence to get a hold of a scroll. It made sense. Minato was Boruto's grandfather, and Naruto had used flying Raijin before, so it almost seemed like Boruto's birthright. But then it was revealed that Boruto wasn't even really using flying Raijin. He was using a totally separate space-time ninjutsu that shouldn't even function like flying Raijin, with the excuse of he can't control it as a reason to use tag-like talismans to focus himself. And instead of saying what it actually is, what the real technique's name was, and explaining that his way of controlling it was inspired by the Flying Raijin, they actually named it the Flying Raijin Jutsu when it wasn't. When that happened, it broke the last wooden plank holding up the rest of my expectations for Boruto. Conclusion. I've defended the series quite a bit to my friends who had said it was a cash grab, and even though I wish it wasn't, I feel like they might have been right. Now, does this mean that I absolutely hate Boruto? No, I don't. I still do love it, even if I think it's pretty mid compared to the masterpiece that was Naruto. It's still a part of Naruto, and it's still written by one of my favorite authors of all time. And because of that, I support this series. Just like how most people dislike Dragon Ball GT and feel like it was a cash grab on the part of Toei Animation, who simply couldn't come to terms with the fact that Dragon Ball Z was over, it almost feels like that's what's happening with Boruto. The story has a good general structure and outline, but its flow, especially in the anime, feels off. Its scale, its pacing, all of it seems like a series that isn't actually trying to make a name for itself, but instead is riding off the coattails of the series that came before, making its living on nostalgia trips and the world that we love. And while I definitely won't stop paying attention to it, nor will I throw off on anyone's opinions who defend and think that the show is fantastic, from my own personal point of view, while the manga is better than the anime, neither could ever hope to hold a candle to what the original series had once been. It feels like an echo of what Naruto had once been. If I were to make a comparison, I'd say that what Koji Kashin is to Jiraiya, Boruto is to Naruto. It's a thing in the shape of something we love, but deep down it's missing everything that made what we loved so great, and I think that's tragic. Why am I venting about this? Well, to a degree, I'm simply offering criticism. Perhaps harsh criticism, but criticism nonetheless, and stand here with hope in my heart that eventually Boruto will actually stand up and take its own first steps, to stop relying on past tropes that made Naruto great, and actually develop an interesting plot that can move us forward. Kishimoto did it once, and that's why Naruto is so great. Just as he's tried to put the nail into Naruto's coffin by taking away everything that was once his, he needs to let the series forge ahead. In my opinion, Naruto's story reached its climax already, just as Tony Stark's story arc reached an end, and so too should the Naruto series. A sequel series should come out, but if it had been me, I would have set it so far in the future that all of the original characters had died peacefully of old age and let a new story with new protagonists who are not reliant upon the previous characters to define their own personality. Leave us with a Konoha during the reign of, say, the 8th Hokage, and introduce us to a new protagonist who is not an Uchiha, not an Uzumaki, and not the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. Let the characters be themselves, and let the story evolve on its own just as it did when we read Naruto for the first time. But then again, I guess that's just my 2 cents. But what do you all think? Am I spot on with this little rant, or am I overreacting about certain things? Feel free to leave your comments below for me to see. But one thing I do request. Not everyone in the fan base will share this opinion. Opinions will vary, and beauty is in the eye of the beholder. What to me or you might be mid might be something very special to someone else, just as I love GT when most others don't. What I ask is that you be respectful of each other's opinions. Yes, voice it. I invite you to agree or disagree with my opinion, but please be respectful of your fellow user. Remember that at the end of the day, we're all Naruto fans here, and our tastes, even if different, make discussing Naruto entertaining. I hope each and every one of you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified when more videos like this drop. Try out one of these other videos, and yeah, peace out, my friends.